This is pretty incredible. I often think when I stand up in front of a group of people to give a presentation that I can't believe it. It's like, wow, look at all these people. Here I am. I've seen all kinds of concerts and other speakers here in this beautiful Newman Center, and it's pretty remarkable to be up here myself. So thank you for coming. I also have to say that I'm not too scared because I used to teach high school. And if you ever taught high school, you know that this is not scary at all. High school is really, really scary, teaching high school. So my story is different than many of the stories that you may hear when you come to these speaker series because I'm not your typical business person. I didn't study entrepreneurship. I didn't study business, although I often wish that I had. Not to some great degree, but I do wish that I knew how to balance a checkbook, or I'm sure my husband wishes I knew how to do that as well. But I'm not, I wouldn't consider myself your typical business person, but I am a person with a story, and I think I hope it's very inspirational, because I believe that my story is a great way to communicate to people that this could be anyone's story, because there was really nothing that started me out in any kind of a way that was exceptional. I went to Michigan State University, and as did the provost of this entire college. Pretty incredible. But what I was a person who was inspired. So inspiration, right? Why are we inspired? How are we inspired? What is it that inspires us? For me, it was having a baby. For other people, it may be wanting to communicate in a different way via the computer or whatever it is. But we all can find inspiration in different ways. So I wanted to share with you a couple of cool stories of people who you may or may not have heard of. The first you probably have not heard of. And this is a gentleman by the name of Chester Greenwood, who lived in the early 1800s. And Chester Greenwood actually came up with an idea that many of us have used since we live in a cold state. Chester was a little kid. He was 12 years old, and he loved to ice skate. But he was allergic to wool. And at the time, that's what people wore. They wore wool scarves and wool hats. And poor Chester wanted to ice skate and always had a difficult time going out in the cold because his ears got so cold. So he went home, and he kind of worked with his grandma a little bit, and he came up with an idea, which ultimately was patented, and this was the idea for earmuffs. So the cool thing about Chester was not only did he come up with this idea, he was inspired to find a way to warm his ears, but he patented his idea, which was a very smart thing to do at the age of 15. And later he went on to make oodles of money by providing earmuffs for all of the soldiers in World War I. So that was a pretty big deal. And Chester went on to file a number of patents after that, because the reality of entrepreneurship is it is really addicting. It's something that is hard to stop, particularly if you've had success. Sometimes it's hard to stop if you haven't had a lot of success. And the reality is that a lot of us don't always succeed. And I've certainly had businesses post Baby Einstein that haven't been wildly successful. 95% of businesses, startups, fail. And that's a sobering number. And yet we live in a time when so many people are inspired to start their own companies. And we also live in a time where it's possible to do that, in a country where we're so lucky because it's possible to do that. So that's pretty awesome. Another great entrepreneur, a kid who I'm sure you have heard of, Louis Braille, a blind child. He was actually 3 years old when he went blind as the result of an eye infection, and went on to go to school, but there was no way for him to read. He could only listen, which was the case of all the people that he met who were blind. And so he developed the system that we now know of as Braille. So pretty amazing, 15 years old. And then the third person I want to talk to you about, just briefly, an 11-year-old little girl. And in 1984, she had a company that had a product that was brought into Walmart. And what her product was the result of her frustration at broken crayons. So here's a little girl. She's really, really frustrated because her crayons are breaking all the time, or her brother's breaking them. And she's bugged by it. And one day her dad brings her mom roses, and the roses are each in those little individual plastic holders to keep the roses fresh. So each stem is in one of those little plastic holders, and she comes up with an idea. What if I put a new crayon in one of those little plastic holders? It won't break. So Cassidy Goldstein, 11 years old, came up with an idea that eventually became a product that you can buy at Walmart today. Pretty incredible. So here are people. We have ideas. You guys have ideas, I'm sure. Many of you are here as part of the business school or entrepreneurship programs, and some of you are part of the community of entrepreneurs, and it's Small Business Week this week in Denver, which is really awesome, and I hope many of you have a chance to participate in some of those things. So there's really cool things going on for us. And there's a saying that I'm sure you have heard, which is good things come to those who wait. And I want to tell you that that saying is a bunch of BS. It's really not true. Good things don't come, maybe they come to those who wait, but good things come to those who work their asses off and never give up, right? So you have to work hard. You start a business, you have to work hard. It's not a part-time job. And what you will see from many, many entrepreneurs, the three that I mentioned who were entrepreneurs as kids, and certainly my story, is that what we want to do many, many times when we come up with an idea for a company is we want to fill a need. There's something that we want for ourselves that doesn't exist. So, there's some really big ones, like the internet, and there's some really little ones, like, well, I don't know if it's that little or not, but compared to the internet it is, like the arts for babies, classical music for babies, which is, of course, what I did. When you have an idea, though, and you want to fill a need, and it's important to you to fill a need, you have to ask yourself several questions. So the first thing you have to know is, when I balance this out, if I were to make a list and put the good things about my business and the things that might be difficult about my business on a piece of paper, am I being realistic? Is this something that I can really do? Do I have the time to do it? Starting a business, again, it's not a part-time job. This is something you give yourself to. But if it's something you want enough, then you will give yourself to it, and you will commit yourself to it, and you will drive to make it happen. So the first question you have to ask yourself is, can I really do this? And the second question you have to ask yourself is, do I have the time? Because, again, it's a lot of time. It's weekends. It's evenings. I worked on Baby Einstein videos initially when my daughter was napping or sleeping. But thank God I had help. I had a partner in my husband who was there to help me. So we really worked our asses off to make it work. So it took a lot of time. And the other really important question, of course, is, can I afford it? Is this something that is just wildly expensive? Fortunately, we live in a time now, which is pretty cool, with Kickstarter and crowdfunding and lots of people wanting to support entrepreneurs. But it's expensive to start a company, for the most part. So the fairy tale of Baby Einstein is that it wasn't that expensive. At the time it was expensive for us because I had left work. I'd left teaching to stay home with my daughter, and my husband was working, but we were not wealthy people. So to get Baby Einstein launched and off the ground cost about $15,000. And that was a lot of money for us. But in the scheme of things, as you hear the whole story, that was like nothing. It was pretty cool. But you do have to ask yourself, can I afford this? Is this something that I can actually do? Will others want this? Is this something I just want for myself? Or are there actually people out there who also think this is a good idea? And one question you can always ask yourself is, if it doesn't exist, why doesn't it exist? Does it not exist because nobody's thought of the idea? Or does it not exist because nobody cares about it except me? So I would encourage people with ideas to do their homework. Ask. Create your own focus groups. What do you think? Do you think this is a good idea? With Baby Einstein, my questions were, when I went to playgroup, how do you feel about Barney? And guess what? Everyone hated Barney. So, except the kids. But all the other mommies were like, yes, please, please, can you give us something else? So you need to really ask yourself, will others want this? And I was reading a pretty interesting article, and it was talking about how there are things that we need and things that we want. So in business, there's kind of those two questions. Is this item a vitamin or is it an aspirin? Is this something that is extra that will help me out, but I don't really need it? Or is it something that I really, really need? And the cool thing about Baby Einstein is that it started out as a vitamin, but it became an aspirin, which was really incredible. I hadn't known that that would happen. But it became something that parents wanted desperately. And the reality is, for any of you who have children, you know this, very, very young children in particular, if you can find something that will stop that baby from crying when that baby is teething at 2 a.m, that is an aspirin. That is not a vitamin. That is something you need. And so it's a really great question to ask yourself. And then the last really important question you have to ask yourself is, can I accept the risk? For some people, it means I have to leave my job to really commit to doing this. So can I really leave my job? I mean, can I afford to leave my job if I have a family to support? Maybe not. So there are always risks involved. And in some ways, the most difficult risk is fear. Because it's really, really hard to put your idea out there for the world to see and understand that you could face failure. And no one wants to face failure. And so the risk can be both personal in that regard and professional in the regard of, is this something I can really afford to do? Sorry, my phone was ringing. Since DU is a great hockey school, I thought I would give you a quote from Wayne Gretzky. And Wayne Gretzky says, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. It's true, right? You've got to try. I mean, if it's something you're passionate about and you really, really care about it, you have to try it. If you don't try it, you're never going to have it happen. So, again, if you can accept the risks, if you can afford it, if you can kind of cross off all those things on the list I just gave you, why not? Why not? So take the shots. And that's what I did with Baby Einstein. And so here I was, the way it all started. I had a baby. I had been a teacher. I loved literature. I loved art. I taught poetry. I taught I taught courses in classical music. I loved those things. And I thought to myself, why is it that I have this little baby and she can be exposed to anything at all that I give her? She's with me all day long. So I can either give her junk or I can give her good stuff, And why would I want to give her an annoying song or an annoying, cartoon or animated thing that was not appropriate for a baby when I could give her the most nourishing content? I mean, it just didn't make sense to me that nobody had done that before. So the idea was there, and that's how it was inspired. And the idea for the name Baby Einstein, of course, resulted from that. But I have to say, Baby Einstein, the name in and of itself, was one of the best things I could have done for the company. So I will tell you what I tell all entrepreneurs whenever I do these talks. You've got to have a great name. I really think that a name is so key. When I taught school, I had kids sometimes with the most horrible names, and I would think, why did their parents give them that name? It just kind of categorizes them. It's pretty awful. I won't name names in case there's somebody here. But, but Baby Einstein, it said what it was, and it was something that everyone who was a parent wanted. Who doesn't want a Baby Einstein? I mean, you met mine a few minutes ago, but, we all want a Baby Einstein. So it had a great name. A funny little story. I was at a trade show last week, and it was a trade show that had lots of products for young people, babies and young children. And there was also a section for women who were pregnant and nursing. And so there was a nursing blanket for women so that they could cover themselves up if they were nursing their babies. And this nursing blanket had the most horrible name. Now, I can't even believe it had this name because it is so, I don't even know what to call it. So the name of this nursing blanket was Hooter Hiders. Really? Hooter Hiders? Wow, like I would never buy that. That is like the most offensive, annoying name ever. So anyway, think about it. If you are in the process of starting a company, think about the name, think about how it's going to apply to your company and how customers are going to respond, potential customers are going to respond. So I have this idea for Baby Einstein. I know what I want. I'm passionate about it, right? I mean, as we are. I mean, when you have an idea and you've actually taken the next steps, you've taken the shot, you are so passionate. Plus, you're investing time, you're investing money, you're investing your heart. And you're scared and you want it to work. You're terribly, terribly passionate about what it is that you're doing. And I knew that I could do what I wanted to do. I knew that I could make a video that my baby would like to look at that had really great content. It just didn't seem that hard. So I went into my basement. Honestly, Baby Einstein was a startup company in my basement. And I took pictures of my daughter's toys, and I borrowed video equipment. My husband and I worked together. We shot images on black and white backgrounds because we knew that's what babies liked what babies could see best against, images best against. And then we worked on an amazing soundtrack with a friend of ours who is a musician. And I want to share with you, in case you haven't seen a Baby Einstein video, I just want to share with you a small piece of a Baby Einstein video called Baby Van Gogh. And so I just think this is sweet, and the music is incredible. So. As you can see, I didn't shoot those in my basement, of course, but that would be an amazing basement. But the videos were compelling, the images were compelling, and babies would sit and be fascinated and mesmerized as they were hearing music. It was remarkable. It was something that people talked about. And so what happened with Baby Einstein was, first let me backtrack a little bit. We had to target our market, right? We knew who we were trying to approach, and that was going to be moms, probably college educated to start out with, who thought about stuff like this. Maybe they were stay-at-home moms more than working moms initially. We were thinking about all of these things. Who was it that wanted this product? Because the reality is, nobody comes to you. I mean, you can have the greatest idea in the world. You can make the most incredible object, the most incredible recipe, the most incredible whatever. But no one is going to come knocking on your door to find you. You have to go out and find it yourself. And how do you do that? I mean, that's a tricky question because for me, I was an English teacher who was a stay-at-home mom who had never been to a trade show, who had never sold anything in my life. And so I had to think about how am I going to target my market. So I thought about where I shopped because I figured I was my own customer, which you probably will be your own customer if you're making something that is for you to fill a need that you have. So you start thinking about, okay, I'm my own customer. Where do I shop? And I knew where I shopped. I shopped at a store called The Right Start. There's one actually in Cherry Creek. But at the time, I have to backtrack, this was back in 1996, 97. The Right Start was a pretty big catalog company. They sold lots and lots of baby supplies, really sort of high-end stuff, really good quality. And I knew that was where I wanted my product. It was the perfect place for it. And so I set my sights on that one goal. I need to get this product into the Right Start. And I would tell all of you who have products or services out there that I think that's a really good strategy. I think it's great to really try to target your market, at least as you start. So what I did is I went to a trade show, and I did not have a booth. I couldn't afford one. I'd never been to a trade show before, but I decided to go to a trade show called Toy Fair in New York City, and I was extremely naive. Having never been to a trade show, I was very, very naive about what it was going to be like. So this is a shot of, it's one shot of a very, very small portion of the Javits Center in New York City, which I believe the attendance at Toy Fair is about 25,000 people a year. So now I want you to imagine how passionate I must have been, because I went through that trade show for 2 days with my Baby Einstein video that I'd made, and it was on VHS because these were the old days. Went through the trade show with my VHS video, looking at name tags. And all I was doing was looking for someone with a name tag that said the Right Start. That was my whole goal. That was all I wanted to do, was find somebody. And it was hard. But on the second day, I'm walking along, and I walk by this group of women, and there are about 5 women, and they have Right Start name tags. And I'm now at this point so freaking happy. I can't even believe I finally found somebody with Right Start name tags, that I think I plowed into them. I had my video, and I was like, hello, I have something you want for your store. And I was shoving people out of the way. I think I scared them. And I got one of them to take it in her hand, my video, and I was, pitching it like crazy because it was so perfect for their store, and I was so full of enthusiasm. And that's the other thing, of course. You need enthusiasm because people respond to it. If you're tenacious and you are positive and you're upbeat and you're excited, people respond to that if you're talking about your product in that way. So it was quite awesome. So anyway, here's the next part of the story. It gets even better, really. I go home now, and I know that I have my video, my Baby Einstein video, the first one ever, in the hands of a buyer from the Right Start. Now, I don't have her card. All I know is that her name is Wendy. I don't know anything else. I don't know her last name. I don't know what office she's in. I don't know anything. So I wait 2 weeks, and nothing. Nobody calls. I can't believe it, because this, of course, was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And after 2 weeks, I decided to call corporate. So I call corporate. They're in California. This was before the internet, you guys. I'm just saying, this is finding the phone number of a company in California was a little tricky. So some of you understand. Many of you in this section do not. You do, because you're my friends. So I call the Right Start, and the operator answers the phone, and I say, hi, this is Julie Clark. I'm calling for Wendy. And she says, oh, well, Wendy, I'm sorry to tell you, Wendy left the company. And I'm like, oh, my God, that's right. I forgot. She told me she was leaving. But she told me to get in touch with that woman who was replacing her. What was her name again? And the receptionist tells me, oh, her name's Kathy Angel. Oh, that's right, Kathy. Could you please connect me with Kathy? Well, here's the best part, and this is where sometimes you have to tell little lies. Just little lies. So, they don't hurt anybody. So I get Kathy's voicemail, and I proceed to say this. Hi, Kathy. This is Julie Clark. I'm the president of the Baby Einstein Company. Now, remember, I haven't even sold a single video. I have one video that is on the desk. And this is Julie Clark, president of the Baby Einstein Company. And I met with Wendy at Toy Fair, and we had lunch together. And she absolutely loved my product. And she said it would be perfect for the Right Start. And she thought it would be great if you could take a look at it. She was going to leave it for you. I just want to be sure that you saw it. It's lie. And hang up the phone. And needless to say, sometimes lies work a little bit. And so Kathy called me back and she said, see the video, it's here on my desk. I think I'll just take it home for the weekend. I'm babysitting my nephew and I'll try it out and see if I like it. So that was my in. So the really important part of my in was that the nephew liked it. And that was, of course, the magic of Baby Einstein, was that babies liked it. It worked. I mean, really, in the end, you can have the greatest product that you can conceive of, but if it doesn't work, then nobody's going to buy it and no one's going to talk about it. The great thing about doing that deal with the right start, and it kind of happened by accident because I really didn't know what I was doing. But I decided to do an exclusive with them. And the thing that the exclusive got me that was so awesome is it got me special space in the store. Because they were the only ones who carried this product, they were willing to give it really nice space so that it was visible to consumers. And the other great thing about the Right Start that would be true of any smaller retailer that you went to is that you have a much more dedicated sales team. So you have a salesperson who's at the Right Start, probably also a mom, and she can really talk about your product to a customer who asks her. It's not like going into one of these giant retailers, we won't name names like Walmart, but if you go in and you ask for something, I mean, you might as well be speaking Latin. I mean, nobody kind of knows where anything is, and certainly nobody can fill you in on the details of a specific product, probably. So that was incredible. So doing that exclusive, and I did that exclusive with the Right Start for a year, it was remarkable. I use the word remarkable a lot because the thing about the word remarkable is this. You remark about it. If it's something that's really special, you remark about it. And that's what happened with Baby Einstein. So moms, told dads, told grandmas, told sisters and babysitters. And I mean, this incredible word of mouth happened because the product worked. It was amazing. Babies stopped crying and they listened to stuff that didn't drive their parents crazy. And it was, and parents felt proud that their baby liked listening to Mozart. And I got emails from people, once emails came into existence. I got emails from people that said things like, I was with my 2-year-olds and we walked into MoMA in New York City and my 2-year-old daughter pointed to the Starry Night painting and said, "That's Van Gogh." And the security guard almost fell over, like he couldn't believe it. So parents loved that, it was really, it kind of went from the vitamin to the aspirin. It was something that you wanted because you felt good about it and your baby loved it. So that was awesome. The next thing I really had to do was create awareness, which came again through word of mouth. And the really cool thing about that word of mouth was that it gave me the opportunity to get a lot of press. And I did not, this is really crazy, in the 5 years that I owned Baby Einstein, I never hired a publicist. I did not have a PR person. But what was happening to me was that writers from People magazine, from Time magazine, from USA Today, they were coming to me to write stories because their babies loved it. It was crazy. So I was creating this really tremendous awareness. And another really kind of neat story I want to share before I show you this next video. Let's make sure the volume is up on this video if we could. Before I show you this video is I was living in Atlanta when I started Baby Einstein. And I figured, because I was passionate and naive, that I was right down the road from CNN. I'm like, oh, I'm in Atlanta. CNN is in Atlanta. I'll call them and see if they want to do a story on Baby Einstein. So I called, and I get this woman on the phone from the parenting department, and I said, hi, Pat. Her name's Pat Etheridge. Hi, Pat. My name's Julie Clark. I have this company, Baby Einstein. It's all about stimulating babies. It's really terrific. Maybe you want to do a story about it. And here's what she said. She said, oh, my God, that's so perfect. I'm doing a story in 3 days about Romanian orphans and how tragic it is that they don't get any stimulation. And what I would like to do is show the difference between the two, between children who don't get stimulation and the importance of stimulation, so that I can show children who do. It was like a total stroke of luck that she was doing that story. But the reality is you make your own luck, because she didn't come knocking on my door. I went to her. I called her. I did not know her. I didn't know anything about PR. I'd never done a television interview before. So she finishes the conversation by saying, can we come to your house tomorrow and shoot some footage of you and talk about your product? And I said, let me think, yes. So here was the result of that. And again, is this Mozart?
Yes.
Julie Clark is putting into action
The baby likes to hear Mozart.
what most parents are just beginning to hear about. Exercises that enhance early child development.
The first 3 years of life is incredibly important. We know now that babies are really desperately in need of stimulation and love it.
The daily family routine involves a series of educational games
An F, that's right.
God have the fish.
that may actually spur critical connections in the brain of her 2-year-old daughter Aspen,
3, 2, 1, faster.
as well as her baby on the way. Julie feels so strongly about the potential of early brain stimulation, she has produced and is now marketing a videotape for parents and their infants called Baby Einstein. Her motivation stems from a growing body of research that shows connections in the brain begin forming at a fast and furious rate even while the baby is still in the womb, and are crucial to the development of language, sight, and emotion. There's also evidence that playing or listening to music at an early age can lead to a better understanding of math later on. But as Julie Clark has discovered, parents have a myriad of early learning tools right at their fingertips.
What are those trees called?
Dogwood.
There are probably thousands and thousands of baby Einsteins out there just waiting to be stimulated in the right way. So as parents, I think any caring parent can have a bright child.
I have a good idea. I have a good idea.
Pat Etheridge, CNN, Atlanta.
Isn't that awesome? And then, of course, I got the big one. Oprah. That was pretty cool. So that was, again, Oprah. I have no words. It was just awesome to get on the Oprah show and talk about entrepreneurship and being a mom entrepreneur. So that was really incredible. The next thing that I would say that really helped my company flourish is that I was able to diversify. So as I was making more and more videos, and if you don't know, the videos kind of went like this: Baby Einstein, Baby Mozart, Baby Bach, Baby Shakespeare, Baby Van Gogh, Baby Newton. I mean, they were all these really amazing human beings who had lived and created incredible works of art or thought. And so I was actually approached in the 3rd year of running my company and making these videos. I was approached by the Walt Disney Company, and they said, we would love to have you write books, write Baby Einstein books. And I was an English major, so for me, writing books was like, how awesome. So I was really excited. So, of course, I thought for another half a second and said yes. And I started a relationship with Disney Publishing. Hyperion Books was the division of Disney Publishing that I worked with. And that was incredible. I should tell you as well, you'll see there's a book there in, is that Hebrew, I think? The product was becoming really successful internationally. So we had relationships with retailers in Israel and Russia and Japan and New Zealand, of all places. It's kind of funny. So things were really moving along and progressing. Now, I think it's really important at this point to tell you that I did not do this all by myself. So one of the things that you always want to consider when you're starting a business is who's going to be on your team, because no one is good at everything. I already confessed that I'm not good at business. And again, I know one of the business professors here had asked me this to respond to this question: was there anything that you wish that you would have studied in school? And I absolutely wish I would have studied accounting and finance. Now, I don't know if I would have been any good at it, but I do think that I would have done well to have a general knowledge of those subjects. And but because I did not, I had a team that did. And so that was amazing. My husband was really my counterpart in this whole Baby Einstein thing, and neither one of us could have done it without the other. So he provided a lot of that operational support that was needed when you have a company, and the accounting. And really, he's not a lawyer, but he should be, because he's done so many of these, read so many legal things and all these crazy things that come up when you have a company. So I just want to say that you can't do it by yourself. It's so much work. But if you can get a great team, and then if you can share with that team, you're all inspired and you're all motivated. And so one thing I do encourage people to do is some kind of profit sharing plan. Be a good employer. You'll be hearing next month from the CEO of the Container Store, who is always, their company is always voted one of the top companies to work for. Go into the Container Store, those people are all so happy. It's amazing. So what I did is I really tried to make sure that the people who worked for me shared in our success. And so ultimately, I'll get to this later, but when we did sell Baby Einstein, everyone took a little piece of that. And people work harder when it's partly theirs too. It's not just a salary. It's partly theirs. And I can't tell you enough how strongly I feel about that it's really, really critical. So here we are, we're making great products. And I love this quote from Steve Jobs. He said, if you keep your eye on profit, you're going to skimp on product. But if you focus on making really great products, then the profits will follow. And I think that's really true. I mean, you make junk, people aren't going to buy it. You're not going to make money. But if you're only thinking about money making and you don't care about the quality of what you're making, not only will you most likely not be successful, you're certainly not going to have the kind of word of mouth that we were able to acquire at Baby Einstein, but you're not going to feel very good about yourself if you're making junk. I mean, I really believe that. So I've mentioned that I owned Baby Einstein for 5 years, and in that 5-year period of time, I only had 5 employees. So it kind of went like this. I was still a stay-at-home mom, which was what I really wanted to do. But that made me really good at what I was making because I knew what my kids liked looking at. I was doing these things with them all the time. So I knew what they liked. And you know what? Kids are kids. I mean, pretty much a kid in America or Africa or Israel or Japan, I mean, they all kind of like the same things when they're little. So I knew what kids liked. I was making great product. I had my husband doing operations. I had an amazing sales person who was handling a lot of our international sales. And I had a wonderful woman who was running customer service. And then I worked with an incredible man here in town named Mark Burr, who is a videographer and who really helped me make the videos as good as they were. So that was really my team. So now this is going to be the most incredible thing to those of you who do study finance and business and entrepreneurship. I'm going to show you our growth. 5 years, 5 employees. Year 1, we did $100,000 in sales. Year 2, $1 million in sales. Year 3, $5 million in sales. Year 4, $10 million in sales. Year 5, $22 million in sales. 5 people. I worked from home, and we were making great product. I mean, it was just the most ideal, incredible fairy tale. And that's why I started out this whole thing by telling you, this isn't really how it is. It doesn't usually work this well, but it was really awesome. So I want to share with you one more video. This one I know you will love. It's really endearing. And the reason I want to show you this video is because I think it's a perfect example of how Baby Einstein worked. So I want to introduce you to a little boy. His name is Ethan Bortnick. And, well, I'll tell you later, but here's the video.
Teacups or any of those?
No.
No, just a small one, okay. So how did you get interested in the piano?
Well, I just had a little keyboard, and then I was playing, and then my parents didn't believe me.
What do you mean they didn't believe you? You mean they heard the sound coming out of the piano and didn't believe it was you?
they didn't believe it was me. So you know those Baby Einstein CDs?
Oh, the Baby Einstein CD. Oh, yes, okay. So you were playing those.
So I was, I listened to every note, and then I just played it, and then they looked in the living room, and it was me.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow. What else you got? Is that
My Mozart.
What's the next one? Mozart?
Alaturka.
Isn't that awesome? I should tell you, I forgot to mention this earlier because I'm pretty proud of it. That logo that you see on the screen, I actually drew that logo at my kitchen table when I conceived of the idea for Baby Einstein. And that's still the logo that's on every Baby Einstein product in the world, which is like, oh, I can't believe I drew that. It's like kind of cool. So 5 years in, nearly $25 million in sales, and I sold the company. People are like, what? Why? Why did you sell the company? You were having so much fun. It was so awesome. It was all of those things. It was fun. It was awesome. But you know, I just felt like it was starting to consume my life. And I had the opportunity to sell it to one of the greatest companies in the world, of course, the Walt Disney Company. So this is actually a picture from the day we signed the contract with Disney, and I sold the company to Disney and decided to retire. And why did I do that? Because again, I really believe this. Stephen Covey says you have to decide what your highest priorities are and have the courage to say no to other things. And God, I mean, that has come back to affect me in so many ways in my life. So while this was all a real fairy tale story, and everything was working out so beautifully and so well, and I sold the company and was able to travel with my husband and girls all over the world, all the continents, including Antarctica, and homeschool for a while and just have this amazing family life, the evil stepmother came to visit because it was a fairy tale. So the evil stepmother came in the form, for me, of breast cancer. So 10 years ago, when I was 37, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So that sucked. What else do you say? So that sucked, and that was bad, and I kind of went through the whole routine and did all the stuff I had to do, and I was doing really well, and I did really, really well for about 4.5 years. And then it sucked even worse because I was diagnosed a second time. And the second time that I was diagnosed, it was like the evil stepmother on steroids because it was stage 4 breast cancer. So as some of you may know, there is no stage 5. It's not a good thing to get diagnosed with stage 4 cancer of any kind. So once again, I went into treatment. I said to myself, well, I won't say what I said to myself because it was really bad words that I shouldn't say in this speech. But I decided that I was going to fight because I was a fighter and because I had done great things before, and I was going to do great things again. And this was 6 years ago, by the way. And so I did some pretty incredible treatment with an amazing doctor here in Colorado, Ginger Borges, if any of you know her, at University of Colorado Hospital. And I've been cancer-free for 5 years. Thank you. That's a big one. Cancer-free for 5 years. But I decided that I wanted to use my previous experience, and because once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur, even though this wasn't a for-profit, I wrote a book for children called You Are the Best Medicine. I knew, again, how to relate to children. I was good at it. I loved teaching. And once again, I was looking for something that didn't exist. a way to talk to my children about cancer. So about the disease, what it meant, what treatment was going to look like, and I wanted it to be done in a soft way and a sweet way. And so I wrote this book, and it was completely philanthropic. HarperCollins published it, but 100% of the proceeds have gone to breast cancer research at both University of Colorado Hospital and UCLA. So it was, my point is that it was really awesome to be able to create something out of this Baby Einstein experience, to have sort of the confidence and the experience to do something like that was awesome. And then on the 5-year anniversary, which was last October, so almost a year ago, I did something that I'm really proud of. I released an app, and I created it completely on, I didn't do it on my own, I didn't do the technology part, but I created it, and it's a free app, and it will always be free. And the app is called Happy Appy. And the point of the app, well, for me, it was to celebrate. Here I was 5 years out from a diagnosis that was not a good one at all. And I wanted to celebrate that. And I decided to celebrate it by sharing happiness. So basically, what the Happy Appy app does is every day you touch the app, and it just sends a video to your phone that'll make you smile. That's it. It's like super simple. It's totally free. And then after you watch the video, if you want, you can click a little button and share it with somebody. So say it's like today's video is all these triplets. It's like these little baby triplets laughing and smiling. And there's lots of animal videos and just sweet things that just can't help, that you can't help smiling when you watch. And so I felt really, really good about that. So those were philanthropic things I did. And then, as I said earlier also, once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur. So these are the 4 companies that I have since been working on since selling Baby Einstein to Disney. So the first one is called The Safe Side. And The Safe Side is actually also, it's not a business. We didn't intend to make money from The Safe Side. This was a give back. So what The Safe Side is, in response to a need that I had for my own children, The Safe Side is a way to talk to young kids, elementary school age kids, about how to stay safe with people they don't know, on the internet, whatever the situation may be. It's a way to stay safe, to teach children how to stay safe. And then we do it with 2 really fun, awesome, excellent videos and a music CD. And my partner in this was John Walsh, who many of you know from America's Most Wanted. And John and I worked on it together, and it was incredible. We do still sell the videos, but 100% of the proceeds from these videos go to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which is the organization that John and his wife started when their son Adam was murdered. And so it's a great product. It's used by schools all over the country. I'm really, really proud of it. So that was one thing I worked on for a long time. Another company I had very briefly that I worked on with both my husband and my sales VP from Baby Einstein is called Memory Lane. And a funny little anecdote, I got an email, and actually we heard this several times from people. Back in the days of Baby Einstein, when I was running the company, I would get emails every once in a while from people that said, my daughter, who's 2, loves Baby Mozart. But what's funny is that my mom lives with us, and she has Alzheimer's, and she really loves it too. And I just thought it was kind of funny, and people would remark about this. And so we started thinking, how cool would it be to make a video for people with Alzheimer's? Because people with Alzheimer's can't typically follow a storyline. And so we thought, what an amazing entertainment product it would be to make a video somewhat like Baby Einstein, full of images. But these images would be images that were important to people because they were concepts and experiences that we've all had. So some images of high school graduations or weddings or, new babies, and then set all of those images to music that evoked another time. So during our wedding section, for example, you might hear Frank Sinatra singing Love and Marriage. So it wasn't a story that somebody with Alzheimer's had to follow. It was just images, and so it was video and sounds that might evoke a memory in these people. So that was pretty neat. So that was Memory Lane. And we were able, as a result of Memory Lane, to do a very large donation to the Alzheimer's Association, which was pretty incredible. Baby Bites is a product that we're just in the process of fundraising for right now. Baby Bites will be a way to utilize technology, mobile devices, because this is how we get entertainment these days, not only to provide great, nourishing entertainment content for really little kids, babies and toddlers, but also now, because we have the ability to, we can take that technology and give parents feedback, really cool, critical feedback. So, for example, your child is 10 months old. At 10 months old, they should be standing up and, rocking back and forth. And to kind of provide parents with some developmental tools that are easy to access for any parent, whether that parent is has a PhD in child development, or that parent is a 16-year-old high school dropout, that we're able to provide developmental tools and technology that help them to parent better, we hope. Because God knows, nobody can have enough good parenting in the world. And the last product that I'm working on currently is the Soft Skin Company. And the Soft Skin Company is something that was an idea that was actually created by another woman, a local woman here in Colorado named Lana Baker. And Lana is a young woman who came up with a really clever idea. And she and I were connected because we have mutual friends. And every once in a while, I'll just talk to people on the phone and try to provide support to entrepreneurs who are trying to start up businesses. And so we started talking on the phone. And I fell in love with her idea. And I ended up being an investor in her company. And what the Soft Skin Company does is make garments that hold moisture on a pregnant woman's belly so that she can apply stretch mark oils and creams to her belly, keep them on her belly to help prevent stretch marks from happening. So it was just like something that I fell in love with the idea. I love younger people who have cool ideas and are really trying to make something of them. And so that was a really wonderful thing to get involved in. So that's kind of what I'm doing these days. And finally, I just hope you are all happy that this was a good speech, and that I would love to entertain any questions and answers. So I think Kate's going to walk around and have a microphone. Now, I do have to remind you that I'm not your typical business person, so please don't ask me like any really crazy hard business questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was really inspirational.
Thank you.
The question that came to my mind, and I'm a believer that you can learn entrepreneurship, is how did you do it? It's an argument for nature versus nurture. Right? Do you need to have entrepreneurship classes? Is it teachable?
Well,
or do you just need to have the right stuff?
Well,
because you clearly had it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I had it, but I could not have done it without other people who knew more about entrepreneurship than I did. So I would say entrepreneurship classes are fantastic. But I would encourage professors, and I don't know, this may happen here at DU because I know the entrepreneurship program here is fantastic, but I would encourage professors to get more people like me in to talk to students, because we're like the real deal. We're living the life. We haven't just studied it. We're kind of living the life. And I think that, I really learned as I went. I didn't know, God, I was like terrified to do public speaking, and I was afraid to, the first interview I did on television, I was terrified, but I was so passionate about my idea. And passion is one of those words that's kind of overused. Everybody talks about you have to have passion, but you kind of do. The reason it's overused is because it's true. And when you really want it and you really care about it and it's a realistic goal, I think anyone can be an entrepreneur. But again, you have to have the right team. So I guess it's both. I think it's nature and nurture. I wasn't a kid with a lemonade stand. I wasn't like an entrepreneur when I was 6 years old. I think I grew into it and fell in love with it. So, yeah, another memory.
First of all, I just wanted to say thank you, and your philanthropic efforts are really amazing, so I'm very impressed and happy that you've done that. I have 2 questions, I guess. The first one would be, like, I wrote it down here. How were you able to trademark the name Baby Einstein or Baby Van Gogh, like these really popular names? Is that copyright legal?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And it's a question I'm happy I didn't ask myself when I started the Baby Einstein company, because I wouldn't have named it Baby Einstein, and then I wouldn't have had that great name. So here's the deal. I called the company Baby Einstein not knowing that there is something like some kind of statute of limitations. So you can use a famous person's name after X amount of years. So Van Gogh, for example, Mozart. You'll notice after Baby Einstein, everyone else had been dead for a really long time. but what happened is I named the product Baby Einstein. It started to take off about a year into our initial success. We got a letter, the dreaded letter, the legal letter, that said, cease and desist. You do not have permission to use the name Einstein. The name is owned by the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, which is where Einstein left his papers. Ultimately, we, of course, didn't want to give up the name, and they weren't using it in that way, so we bought it. So we did have to pay for the Baby Einstein name, and it was expensive. It wasn't that expensive the first time around, but we had to pay for more of it when we sold the company to Disney, and it was quite expensive, like in the millions of dollars. But, again, after that, we just dealt with really old dead people.
And then the second question, when you were, did you ever have like a team of people early on, or people that were in the company like since the beginning, or?
No, I mean, actually, so for the first 2 years, it was just my husband and myself. And he left his other job once we really had a good feeling that this was going to take off. And so he left his other job and worked full time. And I mean, when I say full time, I mean like 80 hours a week. And we shot those videos in our basement. I mean, the first 2 videos literally were like borrowed video equipment in the basement. It was pretty crazy. The most expensive thing we had to pay for was the music. And we also, you'll note, only used music that was really old. So, Mozart, Beethoven, Bach, I mean, these were all composers. Anybody can recreate that music at no cost. But of course, we had to hire musicians. So, and we're very happy with the musician we hired. He did a beautiful job for us. So, yeah, that was really it until year 3. And then year 3, we hired the woman who was our customer service rep, who still works with me, named Grace. And Grace worked in our basement for the first year. I mean, my cat would sit on her desk. It was just like completely homegrown. I mean, the girls were in, my younger daughter was in diapers in the basement. It was pretty funny. So, yeah.
Up to the 3rd floor.
Hi, my name is Andrea Mosby, and thank you very, very much. One of the things that I noticed, though, in your presentation that I think is so incredible is your giving nature, just how you gave back so much and continue to give back. And I kind of feel like that's why the Lord has been so gracious to you. But how have you dealt with fear? Because to me, you keep creating, so obviously there's a space inside of you that gives you the freedom to really just be able to allow that part of your mind to just operate. But how do you deal with fear? And one, I really appreciate the fact that you're such a giving person, and I see that in just the way you continue to move your products and you give them to different causes that mean so much. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, the reality is I still deal with fear. The 2 companies I'm involved in right now, as we look for financing and try to figure out how we're going to really, get more people behind this. I mean, the world has changed so much since Baby Einstein's inception. So now, there are things, social media. I mean, these are all areas that I'm less familiar with than any of the students here because you guys grew up with it. I didn't grow up with it. I'm still going like, what the hell is Twitter? I don't know. Why would I care what Ashton Kutcher's doing? I think that some of the fear is natural, and you're going to have it. And it's if you didn't have it, you probably aren't smart, because you have to think everything through. And God, I wish I had a good answer for you. All I can say is I am still scared all the time. And here's what it's like. Like, being an entrepreneur is like being Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I mean, you are like terrified. You are like down in the depths, like under your desk crying, literally. And then the next day, like, you get a phone call and you're like just on cloud 9. You can't believe, like, everything's going to work out. It's perfect. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. And then the next day, you're down there again. So it's constantly like that. All I can say is the best thing to do, I think, is surround yourself with people who believe in your idea, if it's a good idea. I mean, if they're telling you it sucks and it does, then listen to them. But otherwise, I just think it's really, really important to have cheerleaders. Like, have people so that when you're down under your desk crying, somebody comes up and says, you know what? I love your idea. Like, you can totally do this. I believe in you. I think we all need that. So I hope that answered your question.
I think we have our last question right.
Hi, my name's Stuart Zoll, and I really enjoyed your speech. Very inspiring. I had a question. You sold your company to Disney, and when I was a parent, well, I am a parent still, but when my kids were little, I tried to get them to stop watching Disney. So I find it sort of interesting. You're selling it to kind of the evil empire. And so my question is, was that forgetting the financial reward, was that a smart move? And then are you happy with what they've done with the product since you've left it? So, thank you.
So was it a smart move? Yes. Am I happy with what they've done with it? No. I am happy that I sold the company in particular because of the health challenges that I've had, that I've been able to really live, like, have the kind of life that that we dream of having. I mean, every day I am so grateful. I look up at whoever's up there and I'm just so grateful that I'm here. And I'm so grateful that I sold the company because I didn't spend my life working my ass off and killing myself. I don't remember who said it, but somebody really smart said, you don't go to your grave saying, I wish I worked another day. And so I'm thrilled that I sold the company. I'm not very happy with what it's become, and I think that it was only natural that it would become what it's become. And I say that really not because I think Disney is the Dark Kingdom, but because when I owned Baby Einstein, it was really all about my heart and what I wanted, right? Like, this is what I wanted for my baby. And there was such an authenticity to that people, I really believe that part of the word of mouth had so much to do with the fact that this was a mommy making something for her kids. And I trust that mommy. Do I trust, Bob Iger to be making something when he's got a nanny for his kid? Whatever. I mean, I think it just changed, as it will. And the reality is I've talked to so many entrepreneurs who have sold their companies, and we all sing the same song. We all play that same tiny violin. But, I guess I sold the right for them to do what they were going to do with it. And I'm a bit sorry. But I'm sorry about what it's become, but it's okay. Can't look back. Can only look forward. Am I good? All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks. Take care. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. An inspiring story, both from an entrepreneur standpoint as well as one of perseverance. So I guess the question remains, what inspires you? Thank you all for joining us this evening. Our next Voices of Experience, you've already got the teaser for. It's going to be Kip Tyndall, CEO of the Container Store. Now, for those of you who don't know the story of Kip was roommates with John Mackey, who's the founder of Whole Foods, and they both came up with the concepts of their respective entrepreneurial endeavors in their dorm room. So you'll hear from another one of those two characters. For any of you that heard John Mackey before, that was an interesting night, wasn't it? But Kip's got a little different style, and I think you'll enjoy seeing him. He's going to share an entrepreneurial journey as well as discuss topics about his new book, Uncontainable. The Container Store, as Julie mentioned, is consistently named one of the best places to work. So he's also going to be talking about the importance of developing talent and creating a business where everyone thrives, much like what Julie did with her team. Now, you heard me multiple times in my introductory comments say not one, but two. Well, I'm going to do it again. We actually have not one, but two receptions for you this evening. For our sponsors and those of you wearing name tags, you're invited to our reception backstage, and there'll be people to guide you there respectively. And for the rest of our valued guests here tonight, please join us in the plaza where many of you came in for reception and the chance to meet some of our amazing students and learn more about our student groups. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you again October 14th.